Welcome in to another episode of Gator Diamond Pod. Joined by my co-host Adrian. Adrian, it's a little tough week for Gator baseball, but we can shine the light a little bit brighter. Say we're at the eve of what was a SEC championship. Number one seed gonna play Norfolk State for basketball. What was your thoughts on that? And then we'll get into some baseball.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Not
Keep
Eve,
watching
not
these.
Eve. I don't know why I said Eve. I mean like the day passed.
I got you. It's just kind of weird to watch these both games at the same time, right? The
hmm
Florida Tennessee games, man, in baseball and in basketball. That was wild, but usually doesn't happen like that too much. But at least the basketball made the baseball thing be a little bit more palatable, that's for sure.
hmm
So sweet what the basketball boys are doing, man. Like
Gator boys
Joakim
are
Noah
hot.
used to say, man, them Gator boys are hot. I was about to say that. Them Gator boys are hot, man. Like a
hmm
Joakim. Damn, man, they're playing so good. You know, what gets me about that is how fast they've gone from being an afterthought in the SEC, right? Everybody always wants to, the national people always wanted to talk about Bama, Auburn, Tennessee, right? They kept
Duke.
disrespecting Florida. No, but even just in the SEC, right?
hmm
Kept disrespecting Florida, always to, oh, Tennessee this, Bama that, Auburn that. So how fast we've gone from that to now everybody's picking Florida to win the national championship. It's nuts. Everybody on the ESPN picked Florida to win the national championship. Blake Lovell, that I follow him and his podcast, they all picked Florida to win the national championship. So it's just the national championship, man. So it's just amazing how fast that has just flipped. But they're playing good, man. They're playing really, really good, man. They're just demolishing people, really beating people up, dude. So hope
I
they
think the
keep it
good
going,
thing
man.
about them, I think the good thing about them is their experience to be able to go in like hostile environments and be able to shut the crowd out and be able to play their game. The amount of shots that Clayton hit to be able to when Tennessee would go on runs or even I would say Bama would go on runs and then Florida's going right back up quick, back up nine. There was at
Hmm.
one point it was like a 4 point game. I think it was against Bama and then it was a quick Gators are up nine now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
the poise of the team knowing, hey, let's run our offense. Let's not get too fast. And I thought he also, against Bama, he had, I think, 22 points and 6 assists with 0 turnovers. That's an All American point guard for you right there. That's what you need when you're
Yeah,
talking basketball.
yeah. Clayton is the X factor, man. There was a couple spots there where I thought it was going to get a little bit hairy, man, because that was like an 80-20 crowd there, dude. At least 80-20 Tennessee fans. And I thought those runs that they put and the crowd started going crazy because they really hadn't had much to cheer about up until that, like, 12, 15-minute point of the second half. And then every single time they got it to within 5 points, the dagger, man, Clayton would just nail a three, drive, get fouled, hit two free throws. Just, when it's all said and done, we have Walter Clayton, nobody else has him, you know? And that's always like an X factor, dude. So it's
You know,
gonna be
it'd be
fun,
cool
man. March
though.
Madness will be good.
You know, it'd be
Huh?
cool is to see a Elite Eight matchup against St. John's. I think it would
St.
be elite.
John's is
It's
good.
it's a it's Elite Eight, right? For against the play them
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Elite
Elite Eight
Eight.
to go to the Final Four.
Walter
Um,
Clayton versus Rick Pitino.
if you look at the final AP poll, right?
hmm
Florida has the highest ranked number two, St. John's, the highest ranked number three, Texas Tech, and the highest ranked number four, um, Maryland. Okay, if you look at the AP poll. So nothing easy, man. Like those shirts that everybody was wearing at the SEC tournament, nothing easy, So we'll see. But if they keep playing the way they're playing, I mean, they're unbeatable, dude. That's why they keep getting picked. So that was fun, beating Tennessee, you know, to a pulp in basketball. That was
The
good.
crazy thing about it is that that would have been the dagger of who was getting the 1 or 4 or 2 seed, I
Mm,
think, because it is crazy though that Florida out of everybody would have been on the bubble of the 1 and 2 seed when how good they've been playing is that Florida was ranked the fourth, like the fourth best 1 seed. Florida's
Yeah.
playing how they're playing, which is insane for them to even be that. I would have said overall 2 seed. Overall, like the number one for the number one seed, number two, I would have said for them because Auburn just had a really good season, and if they're not putting so much emphasis on the tournament, but they gave the emphasis on the SEC tournament champion. I thought Florida could have made that run at the number two overall
Yeah.
seed.
Well, that's all part of the disrespect card that Todd Golden's got to keep playing, man. He's kept playing it with these guys. All these guys have felt disrespected since day one here, right? They weren't very highly thought of as in the portal. A lot of the guys that were brought in as transfers, already Tommy Hoke and Condon were very low ranked. I mean, they had maybe two or three scholarship choices each one of them, so that's been documented. So these guys have all played with a chip on their shoulder, and this just adds fuel to the fire, man. So that's good for Todd to have that, dude. Just keep playing that disrespect card, and they'll play it all the way to the confetti. So that works for me, man. But let's talk about baseball. That's what we're here for, man.
We're here
The
for some
Gator
baseball.
Diamond Pie. This ain't the
Hey, look,
Florida basketball hour. So if anything, go
hey,
go go follow the Florida basketball hour. They're awesome too. We already tried to emulate them, but they're the best. But let's talk a little
hey,
baseball.
Neil and Eric do a really good job over there at Florida Basketball Hour. But yeah, let's
Yes, sir.
talk some baseball. Let's get in with some FSU. I thought the FSU game was really good. It was a really good test for us before we had to go face Tennessee. Hostile environment, maybe not a crowd like Florida would have at their park, but they packed the place out. The place was, I mean, I think it was a standing room only. They said
Yeah.
for that game, and Barlow looked really good until he got hit by that pitch, and I think hit on the ball, and then he ended up having to come out. He ended up going 3 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, and I thought the fastball looked really good. I thought he was able to sink the ball really well. He was not missing his locations. He was able to get his changeup and slider also to work to a point where he was keeping the hitters off balance. And with a team like FSU, kind of expected a little bit more, but Barlow just shut him down. And then Barbary also. Barbary looked really good. Let's discredit what happened in Tennessee this weekend, but let's not overshadow the part of where he went 3 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 3 strikeouts, and he was able to also work every pitch. And I thought the fastball had a lot of ride. I think he was really amped for that matchup. And,
Hmm.
it's a full FSU. But first go out though to Evan Crest, obviously with that injury in the second inning, with he's grabbing his forearm. He ended up taking the loss, even going 1 inning, no hits, 1 run, not earned. He ended up going with that. Hopefully nothing too serious. I haven't heard anything on that from him. Colby Shelton, have you seen a home run that was hit
I don't know.
that far and
Hey,
apart? It was off the speakers.
Sully. Yeah, yeah. Sully said that it was the furthest Oppo home run from a lefty he's seen at that park hit. It hit the top of that concrete pole that they have in left center. There's a speaker up at the top. It's probably about, I don't know, 40 feet high. And it hit off of that. The announcer thought it had hit the wall when it ricocheted back into the field and had called it, oh, it's off the wall. And then it was the play-by-play guy, I think it was Jeff Cardozo, had to correct him and say, no, no, it's gone, man. It hit the top up there, dude. So it was a nuke job. He keeps getting rewarded for going the other way, man. Kudos to Kobe Shelton, man. He's had a really good season to this point, Chris, man. He keeps going the other way, keeps beating the shift, keeps getting rewarded for it, man. He really made an effort over the off season, Sully said, and he's putting up some pretty good numbers at the plate, dude, man. Hats off to Kobe Shelton. He's doing a really good job, man. He had a couple big hits there in that FSU game, both Oppo and ribbies on both of them also, obviously. So Kobe Shelton doing it.
And Luke Heyman also coming out and getting going 2 for 4 that with him as well. He's having a little slow start to the season, kind of emulating what last year was like for him.
Yeah.
But he's starting to come into a little bit of form this year now. So, well, hopefully we need him is back. Like I said,
Luke Heyman, yeah, man. But the FSU game, look, it was a game in which Florida pretty much had control of that game the entire ball game. You know,
we didn't
they
we didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, they took control of it. Tough break for FSU, obviously, with their pitcher coming up hurt there in the first inning, second inning. But Florida controlled that ball game from start to finish, really. Barbary, man, listen, he had a great outing. FSU, an undefeated ball club, and Barbary goes out there. What he he gave you 3 innings of scoreless baseball, basically. Um, he
Pretty
looked
much. He just gave
great.
up the
One,
one
oh,
home
all
run.
right. He looked really good, but then, when we go to Tennessee now, he had troubles there that we're going to get into. But that's what we talked about, right, Chris? That's why true freshmen, you're going to have to just ride that roller coaster. I think it's Barbary. I keep saying Barbary, right? But it's Barbary. So it's
Really?
Barbary. Yeah, I think it's
And
at least that's
also,
how the announcers pronounce it. Huh?
I've also said Nadu, and people, and I've been every announcer I've heard NATO,
Nado? Okay.
NATO.
Um, But you got to ride that roller coaster with these freshman pitchers, man, except for one, which we'll talk about later. But normally with these freshman pitchers, you have to ride that roller coaster. But the good positive news, though, is McNeely. He had a
I was
banging
about to talk
outing
about
there
that.
against FSU. And then we're going to talk about his outing against Tennessee. This is the McNeely who you need right now, man, because, you know, those tier one relief pitchers that we talked about. Remember, Chris, the tier ones, Frankie, McNeely, and Philpott. Those were your tier ones. Aiden King was in there, but he's now in the starting rotation. So you got
Tier one
Aiden King in
starter.
the starting rotation, and Frankie. Listen, man, I don't think we're gonna see him again the rest of this season, guys. So that's gonna be a big loss. And we still the word's still out on Coppola, but hopefully we get him back. But we need to find more arms out of the relief, and I think that the Tennessee series that we're going to talk about later is it's gonna highlight that right now Sully. If I was to tell you, Chris, who are the arms that Sully has confidence in this ball club, you can't even get nowhere past one hand, not even close, right?
Yeah,
Liam, Aiden,
McNeely.
Luke, and Philpott.
Yep.
I think those are the four guys right now that Sully right now I think will has full confidence in him and putting them out there. Well, two
Mm-hmm.
are starters. Two are starters, and one is your closer. So you can
Mm-hmm.
see how that bridge right now, and in the SEC, is whoever could bridge your starters to your closer has a huge advantage, man. And Tennessee is in that same boat. And we're going to talk about that when we get to the Tennessee series also. But yeah, Florida State, great win. That win, I just posted with somebody on X that FSU win probably kept Florida out of the 20s in the
Mm-hmm.
D1 polls and in the Baseball America and all that good stuff. If Florida State had beat us and Florida had gone 0-4 for the week, Florida would have been in the 20s, man. Probably 22, 23 right now. So that kept us in the teens. What, 13 for D1, something like that?
Yep. We're actually about to get into. We're gonna get into a little bit of the rankings
Yeah.
real quick before we bridge over into
So
to the Georgia series.
all in
But
all,
yeah,
hey, good win, man. Go for it.
yeah. So for D1 baseball, just announced their rankings. Tennessee jumped LSU to move
Yeah.
to number one in the country. They're 20-0 on the year. So if
Yeah.
you're
Well
speaking
deserved.
on that, we're talking about a sweep over Florida this past weekend. LSU at number two, Arkansas at number three. A friendly, not friendly, an opponent we'll be seeing this weekend. Number four, Georgia. Number five, FSU. Number six, Oregon State. Number seven, Clemson. Number eight, Texas. Number nine, Oregon. I'm just gonna talk top 10.
Okay.
Oklahoma. All you see in this top 10 right here, what, one, two, three, wait, one, two, three, four teams that are not SEC. So six of the 10 are SEC. And if you want to get in a little bit more, it's eight of 13 that are SEC teams.
It's the usual. Yeah, yeah. That's how it is in the SEC, man. Look at the basketball tournament. They set a new
14
record, 14 teams. SEC is what's the same, right? Just means more, right?
just means
And
more.
that's it, man. I mean, that's just how life in the SEC is, man.
Who really stands out to you in that top 10 that you think can? Here, I'll pose this question: Who do you think has a great shot at making a run, and who do you think falls out at some point in the year? If you really have looked at any SEC teams.
Well, really just concentrated on Tennessee and Georgia, to be honest with you.
Mm.
But Tennessee right now, I mean, that's easy pickings, obviously.
Wasn't
Uh,
part of the topics we
yeah.
had, but I was just looking at it, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna
Yeah,
ask that question.
Tennessee, obviously, and I guess falling out based on what you were telling me about their pitching is Georgia. Eventually, that's going to bite you. Eventually, you can't just slug it out with people
Yep.
every weekend. You know, you need pitching. You need pitching. So we'll talk about that when we get to the Georgia preview, but eventually that's going to catch up with you, man.
Yeah, no doubt. I bridged a little too early. Let's get into Saturday's matchup with Aiden King.
Nah, not Friday, man. Game one.
Game one.
You gotta go game one.
Oh, I'm so no, I'm saying Saturday or did I didn't even go Saturday's matchup against Tennessee, but we'll talk.
Game one, Tennessee. We haven't talked about game one, Tennessee yet.
Ooh. Oh yeah, yeah, game one Tennessee. Mine's out of the place right here. Hold. All right. Game
Te
one Friday,
Tennessee series,
Tennessee.
Tennessee series.
Liam Peterson looked great through the first 4 innings until it didn't look. Until he almost looked like himself. I will say he looked like himself more in that fifth inning to a fact because he was dominant through four. And in that fifth inning, he ended up the leadoff walk. And then they just kept pounding the zone with fastballs.
Hold,
He was not
hold,
able
hold.
to
Say that again. Lead off what?
lead off walk.
Does it to you all the time, man. It happened again in that nightmare inning. It happened to Clemente on Sunday. Those leadoff walks, those free passes, hit by pitches will do it to you all the time, dude. Go for it. Keep on, man. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good. But with that, he tried to pound the zone in Tennessee. By that time in the fifth inning, we're just sitting on fastball only, and they obviously got three straight hits off of that. He ended up giving up 4 earned runs, 8 strikeouts. But let's not take that back to what the first 4 innings really looked like from him. He was able to command the zone against a team that's number one in the country, number one pretty much in all categories hitting wise, and he was able to do it rather easy. He was only at I think 60. He was at like 65 pitches going into the fifth inning. I think it was somewhere around there, maybe 65, 70. So he's really bridging because Liam Doyle, on the other hand, was at I think 84 pitches going into the fifth inning. And I'm gonna give Florida's lineup really good credit with that. They really made maybe only 1 earned run shows on there, but it doesn't show that he had to throw 105 pitches through 4 and 2/3 innings to be able to even get. He couldn't even get out of the fifth inning. They had to bring in Tanner Franklin to be able to get them out of that, and he ended up still giving up 4 hits and 2 earned runs after that. But he wasn't the dominant Liam Doyle you saw the first few weeks of the year. Maybe in the first, yeah, in the second inning he had a strike. He struck out the side. But other than that, he only had 3 other strikeouts from those 3 other innings, and he was triple digits, and through the other couple weeks he was 10 strikeouts plus. Not six, but 3 of those came in 1 inning. So Florida really, and then Nato and I think it was Bozier really worked counts with them, seeing so many pitches. Oh, Done, my bad, not Bozier. Done saw I think 35 pitches in the first 2 innings from him combined,
Hmm.
or it was 16 out of the 30 pitches. Just came from 2 batters. Other guys, maybe they're coming up there with different mindset. They don't want to take many pitches. Some of those were really easy flyouts, 1 pitch at bats, 2 pitches, able to get really out of that. I gotta tell you though, Blake Sears' home run was probably one of the farthest home runs I've seen at that park in left field. Did you see it? I don't know if you did
Yeah,
because you saw it. Did
I
you
saw
see his?
highlights. Yeah.
Did you see the nonchalant of him when he hit it? He was. I've never seen somebody like that. He was just like, "Oh, I got it. I hit it."
Yeah,
But
Blake
really,
has a
from
lot of
that,
swagger, right? Blake has a lot of swagger, right?
mhm.
He likes to, He likes to pimp and stuff like that. I think that comes from the Miami part of him and stuff like that. The Miami Hurricane leftover. But he's got a lot of swag. We just need to see him have to use that swagger more often. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
I want him to use that swagger more often. So we need some more production out of Blake Sear. Okay, because the more
hmm
production we got out of Blake Sear, the more swagger he could do, like that Euro step at home plate that he likes to do. He likes to do the Euro.
hmm
All right, so we need to see more home runs to see more Euro steps. Okay, so there we go. And no food poisoning. He had food poisoning on Sunday, so no food poisoning also. Lay off the what is it? Garage station chili dogs? Those will get you every time, man. Knoxville garage station chili dogs.
Again, Luke McNeely gives you 4 innings. They bridge the gap. I thought Florida, with how their bullpen had looked, and me and you talked about this in a lot. We talked about this before, how our bullpen would look, and to be able to only throw 2 arms in the first game, you thought you were almost setting yourself up for maybe a great weekend, being able to use your arms. Going 4 innings, only 1 hit against that lineup. I thought he had 3 strikeouts, 3 walks, but he was in command a lot of that game when he came in and was able to. There was 2 guys on base. He got back-to-back strikeouts, and then I think he gave up. He gave up the wild pitch. The wild pitch that scored a run that made it 4-1. Other than that,
Yeah.
he was able to get out of that inning. Um,
Well, even the only hit that he gave up, right, which led to that run on the wild pitch, was also a play that could have been made, right?
mhm.
So it was a play that could have been made. It was a misjudged play out in the
That's the sixth.
outfield.
That's the sixth inning. So there was
Yeah,
already runners on second and third when he came into the game, and they gave
gotcha,
up. Yeah,
gotcha,
he had second
gotcha.
and third, and he had a wild pitch,
So
which
that
ended up.
wasn't a McNeely run though. That was credited to Liam still.
Yeah, Liam.
It
Yep,
was
the
Liam's
one
run.
earned run. Yep.
Yeah, because it was an inherited runner. Um,
hmm
but yeah, real quick, man. Look, Liam looked lights out for 4 innings. You talked about it already. I thought that this was a huge test for him because that environment there is kind of rough, even though the student section, from my understanding, was kind of on Friday, actually, it was very well populated, but then it tatered off for the weekend. I think that they went on spring break or something. But Friday it was packed, right?
They set a record.
So
They set
yeah,
a home
so
park record.
exactly. Yeah. And it's Florida. So that environment was going to be tough for him as far as from the mental side of it. So I believe he had turned a corner, man, for those first 4 innings. But then the fifth inning came and he just couldn't. And Tennessee will do that to you, right? Tennessee has that lineup. It's a very deep lineup. A lot of good hitters in there scattered throughout that lineup, dude. And if you just let your guard down for 1 second. He gave up that leadoff walk, then he went single, single, double, and he was gone. Right? So it was unfortunate because his pitch count was still fine. I mean, if he had given you a clean fifth inning, he probably could
So
have
six.
Sully would have probably brought him out for the sixth
Mm-hmm.
inning, and there was no reason not to. He was looking sharp as heck. So it's a shame that that happened, man. But it did, and McNeely came in and was lights out. That's two undefeated teams left in the nation, Florida State, Tennessee. McNeely came in against both of them and dominated both of their lineups. So I hope that turns the corner for him. Okay, into you know what, this is what I got to do to dominate, and he could just put that on repeat every time he goes out there, dude. And if that's the case, hey man, he's gonna have a heck of a season, dude. So it was a game that was there for the taking. There was so many little mental mistakes. We haven't even talked about the
The
Luke Heyman
play. Right.
interference play at second base. And so many little plays throughout the entire game that don't pop up on the box sheet, don't pop up as errors, don't pop up as hits or home runs that you could see and be like, "Oh wow, yeah, that's why the Gators won," or "That's why the Gators lost." But so many little things were not done by Florida to win that game. And they didn't. And when you're playing a team like Tennessee, and when you're playing any good team, especially in the SEC, you gotta be sharp, dude. If you're not playing sharp baseball, clean baseball, um, you're probably not gonna win the game because that's the difference between winning and losing, dude. The interference play, I'll give you my quick 2 cents, man. I thought, it's a crappy call to make right there, all right, in that part of the ball game, but it was the right call per the letter of the law. Luke does slide off a little bit towards the left. And not only that, but one of his spikes was up also. He actually ends up spiking killing. Okay, so he also does that. So he was, doing that on purpose, obviously. Um, so it was the correct call, and regardless of the Tennessee, Dean Curley was on the bag, jumping off of it while Killen was coming on it. So if he had peeled off to the right instead of the left, he hits Curley, who doesn't have the ball. Is it gonna get called there? Probably not. But he went left to where Killen had it, and it does get called there, right? But the point is, don't put yourself, and like Sully said in the post game, don't put yourself in a situation to make that call. These guys have umpires come in, Chris, every fall league, every preseason. They have umpires come in. They walk with them around the the, the whole field. I'm sure talking about all these little rules and little intricacies and stuff like that. So they know these rules, okay? They know that. Um, so just don't let the umpire make that call on you, man, especially there in Knoxville. You know, people, and that strike zone on Sunday was pretty much a lot of the week. The strike zone was a little bit off, but that's how it's going to be in Knoxville. And Sully said so in his post game on Sunday. You know, this is the SEC. This is how it's going to be on the road in the SEC. You're going to have packed houses, and you're not going to get a lot of breaks from like umpires and stuff like that, especially in Knoxville. I mean, that crowd and Vitello, they work those umpires on a pitch by pitch basis, Chris. I mean, pitch by pitch, they're working those umpires. I didn't go back and check, but I can't even remember off the top of my head one time that a Tennessee player was rung up looking on a strike three. Do you remember off the top of your head? There was
They had
so
it
many
was
borderline
Liam.
calls, dude.
So I can talk about Friday and Liam. There was one inning. I think it was the first or the second inning where he rung up. He had a 2-2 count. I can't remember, it was a lefty. I can't remember who it was. He had him on the dead outside part of the zone. Definitely
Uh-huh.
a strike, and did not get the call. I think he ended up walking the guy through 10 more pitches than he needed to in that inning
Mm,
because he
okay.
didn't get the call. That would have been strike three. There was a lot of tight tight calls, and I was even talking about it on Friday when I was live tweeting. It was, yeah, there was a
Well,
lot of strike zones, very tight.
that was the case throughout the entire weekend, dude. I mean, honestly, I'm, I don't know. Maybe I should have checked before I brought this up, but I don't think a Tennessee guy was called out on a strike three, was rung up looking on a strike three the entire weekend. They're intimidated there, dude. They are flat out intimidated. The umpires go in there, man, and they're intimidated. And that's the environment that they've created there. And
Mm-hmm.
you got to know that going in. Even more reason so to play clean baseball. And the Gators didn't do that. And it probably cost them a couple games. If the Gators play clean baseball, lay their sacrifice bunts, all the plays on defense that weren't made that should have been made, NATO in left field having that runner on Sunday take an extra base on him, a
Mm-hmm.
bad throw to third when any half decent throw from left field to third, which is like the shortest throw that any outfielder is going to probably make, right? Left field to third base. If he's like within a foot of third base, Abernathy's out, and they don't score that run that's scored on the next pitch on a fielder's choice because Abernathy took that extra base on a base hit to left field, right? Those little plays don't show up in the box score, but that's all part of playing clean baseball, man. And if the Gators had played clean baseball this weekend, they would have walked out of there with minimum one game, probably two. to be honest with you, Chris.
Yeah, it could have took
Probably
Friday and
two.
Saturday,
Okay. But that's
Friday and
baseball,
Sunday.
brother. How
Could
did
have took
you
Saturday.
see how did you see the interference call, since that's what brought this whole topic up?
So the interview, or the not the interview, the interference call, it was a little weird because when you're watching it live, you see the play being made, and he's sliding into second. You see the second baseman or the shortstop jump in the air,
Hmm.
and then you see the other guy trying to make the play and trying to figure out what's going on. And I see him not make the play, and I thought it was okay. It's a run scored, and then you look at the replay. You see him sliding into the bag, but maybe the turf on that kind of geared him more to the left because you see at the end he's on the left side of the bag, and he's way off, and you could see that maybe that's intentional. They're saying there. I was saying there was no way they're gonna overturn this call. There's no way that this call will be overturned if the call has already been made on the field. It wasn't close enough for that. Luke's experienced. This is not a freshman. He's an experienced player. He's known he's got to go through the bag. You can't go out of the bag. If anything, you can still just run through instead of sliding, and they have to throw it around you. I mean, yeah, you want to slide, of course, because you want to try to break up the play, but he's got to slide into the bag, not away from the bag. You know,
I hate the rule because I'm old school, man. I'm an old guy, so I I
we don't
came
need a
up
Dustin
playing
Pedroia play
baseball.
though. We don't need a Dustin Pedroia play.
Dude, I came up playing baseball when where takeout slides at second base were takeout slides, brother. As long as you could touch the bag, I could slide like halfway to freaking second to third. As long as I'm able to have touched the bag, it was good. That's how I grew up playing. And much less, crashing into the catcher at home plate. That was fun. That was fun, man. I had a few of those. That was fun, right? So I hate these calls, you know. I hate it because I grew up in that way of
I
playing
hate it.
baseball.
I hate it, but I like it because of I'm a big fan of Dustin Pedroia, and that's obviously what ended his career.
That's once in a blue moon, though, man. I mean, that doesn't happen like every week, you know. I
Right.
mean, takeout slides were a part of the game forever, you know. You weren't going through second basemen and shortstops like going through water or anything like that. They were
But
surviving them, you know.
but I say that
They
was a
learned
changing
how to
point.
avoid them. They learned how
Hmm.
to avoid takeout slides too, by the way. They learned how to avoid it, you know.
Hmm.
You also learned how to avoid it, and the whole point of it is to make the double play more difficult. That's the whole point of it, right? Now, second baseman and third baseman, I mean, they just stand in there like nothing. They just stand in there and make the play. Just get it and throw as hard as they can, They're not trying to avoid the runner at all, basically.
Hmm.
And the worst part about this call was that there was no way for the double play, Chris.
Nope.
None
Nope.
whatsoever. It was going to be at least a run, and it was going to be a tie ball game. Gators were going to have first and third with whoever was up next, two outs, but still another crack
Top of the
at it,
order. It was the
you
top of the
know?
order up next. It was
And now it's a
it was
double
NATO.
play. Yeah. Now it's a double play, inning over. So it was a killer, man. It was a killer call. Killer call. The only good thing, well, not the only good thing, but yeah, kudos to getting um Liam Doyle's pitch count up. That was a positive on the hitters. It was the strategy going into the game. You know, Sully had talked about that. I had sent a post out earlier during the day on Friday about keep an eye on Nate Snead. Okay. He's their stud relief pitcher, transfer from Wichita State last year, throws 100 miles an hour. You need to get him into these games because if you don't get him into the games on Friday and Saturday and use up some innings and some pitches, then what Vitello would do is start him on Sunday. And now you got him for 5, 6 innings on Sunday coming at you at 100 miles an hour, right? So we did good. Check mark on Friday.
You got
We
him
got him.
almost 4 innings
Yeah,
on
three
Friday for
innings, but
three and two thirds.
it was a low pitch count though. He only had like I think you could check while I'm talking, but he only had I think in the high 30s pitch count, which is low for like 3+ innings, man. Maybe 40s. Um, but big X on Saturday. Saturday,
37.
Chris.
37.
37 pitches for three
Three and
plus
two,
innings.
3 2/3.
Man, that's a low pitch count. Okay. If you had been able to maybe get his pitch count higher, because once he was brought in, that's it. He was
Mm-hmm.
gonna, I mean, Vitello was winning that game on Friday with Snead. Okay. So once he brought him in, if it had taken 70 pitches, where would a pitcher be burned on Friday? How many pitches would you have to throw on Friday to be burned for the weekend? What would you say? Everybody's probably different. Every pitcher's kind of different. Some coaches take care
Yeah,
of
because
their
if you look
pitchers
at
more than
me,
others.
well, you gotta look at the
But
parts of the season too. If it's the first
okay,
SEC weekend, if we're in the talking about the College World Series and we're talking about Brandon
sure,
Neely, yeah, we're
sure.
using him a lot more. But right now, at this point in the season, I
In
would
that
say
game.
maybe 60 pitches,
So
60,
if
65.
so if Snead had thrown 60 pitches, he would have been burned for Sunday.
They would have
You
probably
think?
taken him out. I would have said maybe
Okay.
if they're wanting to take game
No,
one, or are
no,
they?
they would not have taken him out. He would not have taken Snead out. He was going to ride Snead on Friday till the wheels come
Yeah.
off. Trust me on that, brother. He was getting that win. There's nobody else better in that bullpen than Nate Snead, okay? Um, that's why Saturday I have here the anatomy of a sweep. I have it right here. And the anatomy of a sweep then goes into Saturday because when the
Yeah.
Gators get run right off the field in the seventh inning on Saturday, guess what that prevented, bro? The game was what? 1-0 going into that inning. Who do you think is coming in the eighth and ninth inning, Chris? Nate Snead. Okay? So Nate Snead is coming into the eighth and ninth inning. The Gators get run off the field in the seventh, and now what happens? Now
Now
you
you get
got
to
Nate
use
Snead
for
for
Sunday.
3 innings on Sunday, brother,
So what he
that you wouldn't have
threw?
had.
He gave you what 6 2/3. He gave you almost a start.
Where if you have him come in on Sunday, heck, even if it was only for the ninth, Vitello would not have brought him in on Sunday if you had him come in on Saturday. Okay? So the anatomy of a sweep, you see how all these games are interrelated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So yeah, so that's Friday. I want to touch that point because that's really important, man. And Sully was so frustrated by that on Sunday. In his
Mm-hmm.
post-game interview, he brought up the fact that we couldn't get to the lefty Loy. We let Vitello bridge Loy all the way to Snead for 3+ innings. He pitched Loy for 3 innings, man. And you can't let that happen. You gotta make them pay for that. That's why I had them winning on Sunday. I had the Gators taking Sunday's game because I thought that we will make them pay for a bullpen day, and we didn't. We flat out didn't, bro. So, but let's go into game two, man. Game two was fun. Game two,
Game two
Tennessee.
was maybe in a sense. Let's talk a little bit about this. The Gators last year ended the season getting shut out. They lost 144 game current. They had a 144 game where they scored a run, and now they've been shut out twice in the last 22 games. Last 22 games, they've been shut out twice now. 144 games, and now two out of the last 22 games, we've been shut out. But let's not overshadow that with how great a performance Aiden King, a freshman, going into a hostile environment like that was. 6 innings, 4 hits. Let's listen to this. One earned run, big here right here. One walk, 6 strikeouts. 6 strikeouts, only one walk. He did his job. The bullpen and the hitting failed him.
Chris,
When
he
you when
got
you
the
look,
loss.
he got the
He is
loss.
in the record books. Aiden King
Three
got the
and
loss for
one.
that game.
He's 3-1
Baseball.
now.
Baseball's
That's how
cruel,
baseball is.
bro. Baseball's cruel, man.
Baseball is cruel. I mean, there was not much hitting to talk about. We went 5 for 23. The only bright spot was Kobe Shelton again. He keeps providing. 2 for 3. Everybody else, we had 1 for 2, 1 for 3, 0 for 2, 0 for 2, 0 for 2. I mean, like, you gotta give credit to Marcus Phillips. 7 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, 110 pitches. They rode
Hmm.
him. They rode
Yeah,
him.
it really
They were
did.
saying they were saying we're not gonna throw anybody else. We're saving Lloyd and we're gonna save Snead. And what we talked about this before coming in. You've got to make sure Nate Snead throws and where he can't throw on Saturday or Sunday. You got to make sure he either throws the first 2 games or he can't be used. He can't be used like that.
But then,
And what he got? He got 2 saves that weekend. He got his second and
yeah,
third save of the year against us.
a, a couple things. Okay, first, Aiden King. I gotta just talk real quick about Aiden King, man. Like I mentioned to you before we started podcasting, what gets me about Aiden, and I thought this was going to be the worst performance of his career so far. Okay. On the road in Tennessee, I thought this was going to be his worst performance. And you saw what he did. And what gets me, Chris, is the way he dominates the zone with his fastball. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you usually see that with really, really talented pitchers who could do that. Okay. And with that talent usually comes experience. Well, this guy's a freshman, man. And he's dominating what's the number one team in the nation with this stacked lineup. He's dominating their lineup by dominating the strike zone with his
Mm-hmm.
fastball. Man, you just don't see that, Chris. You just don't see that often, dude. His slider and his splitty are just going to develop more and more as he progresses. His changeup, he really doesn't throw a changeup much. I would say his changeup, he maybe throws 5% of the time, maybe if
Yeah,
that.
it's not much.
I like might be off, but if he develops his changeup in the next couple of years also with the
Mm-hmm.
other things that he has, because normally guys who throw a good splitty, the way he throws it, kind of use that as kind of like their changeup kind of. But Chris, man, he was so impressive what he did out there on Saturday. You know, you just can't say enough adjectives to what he did, man. It was really cool to watch. Um, the seventh inning. Well, you were also bringing up Tennessee's pitcher. What's his name again? Jink
Marcus Phillips.
Phillips. He was dominating us, right? Get his pitch count up. Get him out of there.
It doesn't even
It's
matter
like the
about his
fifth
pitch
or
count.
sixth
It's
inning, but whatever, man. It was like the fifth or sixth inning, and you have Yost, who was hitting ninth in the lineup, swinging at the first pitch and making an out. I mean, come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing there? Come on. At that point, I'm telling people to take 2 strikes, especially if you're in the bottom of the order. So that was just a little perplexing to me. Um, the seventh inning. Let's talk about that seventh inning again. Barberi comes out, had a killer outing against FSU. Okay. But he's a freshman, so you got to ride that roller coaster with these freshmen, man.
mm-hmm.
You would have had Frankie probably coming out there, by the way. Okay. You would have had Frankie come out for that seventh inning. So, or if Coppola had pitched on Saturday, right, you would have had Aiden King coming out for that seventh inning, probably. You see what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
these injuries to the pitching staff they
Are
change
hurting.
things, man, especially right off the bat. Until things get worked out, guys get more experience. So, are we going to be better towards the later parts of this year? Yeah. But right now, it's going to be choppy, man. It's going to be rough waters. But that seventh inning, Chris, single, right off the bat, right? Single. And then he gets a strikeout. And then the key at bat in that seventh inning was Abernathy. Freshman, true freshman for Tennessee, playing left field for him, hitting ninth in the lineup. He hasn't been a full-time starter, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But Vitello played him the entire weekend, pretty much. Um, key at bat, dude. He battles Barbary to a 3-2 count. To get to that, He laid off some really close fastballs, high fastballs in which he had swung and missed at a couple of them earlier on in that at bat. But in that
Hmm.
same at bat, he made the adjustment, Chris, and he laid off like two or three of them right up there again. Same spot, just above the strike zone. You definitely weren't going to get any break from the umpire, all right? But just above the strike zone, he laid off him and he draws the walk. And then once he draw the walk, that's it. It was a done deal. Bases loaded. It was the Bataan Death March from there on, dude. He couldn't hold it. Jenkins comes in real quick. He can't hold it. And then McDonald comes in and it's say la vista, baby. Bye-bye. It was done. It was over. It
Game
happened
with
so
the guy
fast.
quick,
And
so
then we
quick.
already talked what that meant. That meant that then Nate Snead didn't have to come out for the eighth or ninth inning. And that meant that Nate Snead now was going to shove it down your throat on Sunday. Okay, which is what happened. So it sucks, but that's called the anatomy of a sweep. That's how sweeps happen. Something so throwaway like the seventh inning, just whatever. It got away from us. But now you see how that affects Sunday, you know? And I hate to bring it up. Sully knows this. Sully knows this. He actually talked about it in the post game. So it's just tough, man. That was a real rough seventh inning, dude. Hard to watch, but those were your tier two level out of the bullpen that we had talked about. And that's where you're going to come up choppy, man. And when you're dealing with injuries to the pitching staff, it's going to take a while to develop some of those arms, man. It just is. And it's not really just the arms, it's develop this, man. Develop
Hmm.
this. It's not easy coming into the road in the SEC, man. It's not easy.
Yeah, no
Go for it,
doubt.
Chris.
Sunday, Gators ended
Sunday.
up losing 7-4. Clemente got his first start back after a few weeks of been on injury with his back. He went 3 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. Thought the surprising one, and now this will factor in who pitches today or yeah, today. Who's gonna pitch?
Well, it's
Well,
today for
today
you.
for
It's
me.
Monday over here, man.
Yeah,
It's
so
tomorrow
tomorrow. So
for us
tomorrow.
States people.
Who's gonna pitch Tuesday then? Because Barlow threw 66 pitches on Sunday.
Yeah,
So now you're looking at, are we gonna throw Jenkins then on Tuesday? Or
Jenkins.
you're gonna have to throw
Yeah.
Jenkins on Tuesday now because you decided to run Barlow out there and he gives you 2 2/3, 2 hits, 4 walks. Walks 4 guys in 2 2/3 innings. 3 earned runs. Not much out of that. And then Phil Pot, 2 1/3, 2 hits, 2 earned runs. And then for Tennessee, they went again with conventional, give a guy 2 innings, then take him
Hmm.
out. And then which is weird because 2 2/3 innings, he doesn't do anything, and then they decide to take him out. One guy, he's just going to face one batter or 2 batters. He faced multiple batters, but he could have just got the out and went 3 innings. They're
Nah,
like, nope, nope.
that's
Let's
how
take him
Tony
out.
does it. That's how Vitello does it. In fact, last year, Stamos, who was their opener,
Yep,
right, on Friday, I believe he was their Friday guy who was their
yep,
opener.
yep.
Um,
Bridge the Capper
I
Russell
I had seen where like Stamos would walk the leadoff guy and
and get
Vitello
taken
would
out.
take him out. I mean, he's a madman. He's a madman. He just coaches sometimes just on feel, gut feel. And I had actually posted on X somewhere in the second inning, even though Sunday is a bullpen day for Tennessee, we still have to give Vitello a reason to go to the bullpen because their guy was looking pretty good. By the way, he's a true freshman. He's going to be
Yep.
probably a starter in the rotation for him in the next year or two for sure. Got a lot of talent, throws in the mid 90s, the whole nine. Highly ranked freshman. So, and as soon as I posted that, like in the next half inning, is when he got into a little bit of trouble, walk or something, and Vitello yanked him, man. Gave him a reason. I think we got a
About
hit or
Tegan?
two. Yeah, Tegan and
Yeah,
Vitello
he only gave
yanked
up.
him.
Yeah, he gave him one hit.
Yeah, yeah. So a hit and a walk, something. we did something and Vitello yanked him, man. But that's how he does it. But Clemente, Chris, we gotta find out why why our starters lose it like that, right? Because Clemente was looking great. I mean, I'm sure this is something that Sully and Cop are sitting down and going, what's going on here? Why is it? How did Liam look like that for 4 innings and Clemente look like that for 3 innings and then just lose it? You know? Why? What's going on? Is it a mental thing? Are they losing mental focus? Is it something technical that once they get to a certain pitch count, Liam, it might be at 70 pitches or 80 pitches. Jake, it's looking like second time through the lineup, no matter what, he's coming across trouble. Okay. So do we have to change his pitch sequence so that he doesn't have these issues second time through the lineup? So it could be a lot of things, dude. Okay. So they got to sit down and try and figure this out because Jake was looking lights out for 3 innings and you needed Jake to give you 5 or 6, man. You needed that, dude. And he got in trouble in the fourth inning. I mean, heck, he barely even got in trouble, Chris. Hit by batter and a walk, and
The
that's it.
seventh. This is his seventh hit batter this
Yeah,
year.
and that's it. Sully went and yanked him. He didn't even let him get that deep into trouble. But I think Sully has seen that movie before, and he's like, you know what? I'm walking out in the first act. And he went and got him immediately, man. Um, but why is this keep happening? Why is this happening, dude? That's something that Sully and Cop got to figure out, dude. Because if they don't figure that out, we're in serious trouble. If you don't get 5 or 6 innings from Jake when he's looking good, it's not. I mean,
Hmm.
if it was in the first or second inning and he starts walking and hitting pitcher and hitting batters and stuff like that, then you're like, oh well, he just not good enough. He just doesn't have it. But man, he's looking good. And then he just loses it. And
You gotta
it's
figure that out.
compounded because it happened to Liam Friday too. Now, a little bit higher pitch count with Liam also, but damn, same thing. It's like they walk a guy or they hit a guy, and then it's tough for them to regain that mental focus. So they gotta figure something out, dude, and they gotta figure it out quick or else it's gonna be rough, especially with the situation of our bullpen right now.
Yeah, because we don't know who can
But
really
hey,
go to.
Houdini act in that fourth inning. Houdini act to get out of it. It looked like they were gonna just blow it open in that fourth inning, man. But Houdini act there, Bozer made a really nice play at third base, and then a double play unassisted by Shelton. And you thought that Tennessee was gonna put up four or five, but the difference is that who who came in the pitch there, Chris, for Jake in that fourth inning?
For Jake, it
Barlow.
was
It was
Barlow.
Barlow. It
Yeah.
was Barlow. Man, Houdiniac by Barlow because it looked rough there, right? He walks a guy, forces a run in, right?
Hmm.
And then you're thinking, man, they're gonna blow this open, dude. But at least he threw strikes and let his defense work for him, and they got out of it. But we got to figure these things out, dude. We got to figure these things out, Chris.
Yeah. No doubt. But I gotta say, if we're gonna look back on the series, we see a sweep, but I really think our starting pitching made them come back to life. You saw the averages when we went over it in the preview when we previewed Tennessee. I thought really our starting pitching really came made them come back down to life for a second. You saw the
Yeah.
four innings from Liam. They literally pinch hit Levi Clark. They pinched hit him because he couldn't catch up to Liam. Two strikeouts. Aiden King struck him out twice. I mean, down the lineup, they didn't hit great from starting pitching. Yeah, Liam only goes four. He gives up a good amount, but it really wasn't like scattered. You know what I'm saying? Like it
No,
was just
yeah.
that one. It was that one inning here, one inning in the fifth. Really, from that starting pitching, they really took advantage. That one inning from Clemente, and then Aiden King dominated for 6 innings. Really, our starting pitching made him look like they can be beaten at some point.
Yeah. For that that seventh inning on Saturday skews everything, right? It
Excuse.
skews the numbers for the whole weekend as far as what Tennessee like average runs scored for the three games and all that crap is all skewed by that seventh inning on Saturday. But for the most part, the pitching kept us in this. It
Yeah,
kept us in these games, definitely, for sure. The pitching kept us in it. The hitting, I think, stayed on the tarmac at Gainesville Regional Airport. I think that's where the hitting stayed. It stayed on the tarmac for the most part. They never got on the plane, Chris. All right, they never got on the plane. The hitting's got to do better, dude. You got to do better, man. You gotta produce more, man. If not, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough
hmm
because, um, you remember all that depth that we were bragging about during the
yeah,
preseason. I would
that's
brag
going
about it
away.
a lot, man. I would say this is the deepest team Sully's ever had. Well, guess what, Chris? We ain't that deep no more. Okay, that's it. We ain't that deep no more. You've had one season ender in center field, and second base hasn't come
Dislocated
back
shoulder.
in what, 2 or 3 weeks? We're hoping he's going to be coming back soon, right? But if that shoulder, dislocated shoulder, right? That's the word. So
hmm
if that shoulder keeps popping out every time, for all we know, Cade is in the batting cages, and every time he takes a couple hacks, that shoulder pops out. For all we know, right? He ain't going to be coming back if that's still happening. So
Right.
we ain't that deep no more, man. And Sully is having to rearrange this lineup a lot lately, and he's trying to do some matchups to go against the pitching against us, and the defense is struggling because of it. I think no one could doubt now that we're having trouble with the defense, and maybe we're not. I mean, Ty dropped a fly ball. And
He's
he
done that a
shouldn't be
few
doing
times this
that.
year.
He's done it a couple times this year, man, and that's your senior right fielder, but Nadu's struggling in the outfield, regardless of where you
hmm
put him. He's had issues in center and left. He had that misplayed triple by Dean Curley that ended up being a run that Luke gives up, and it wasn't an error. These are not errors. Ties was, but the issues that NATO's having are not errors. The guy taking the extra base on him on whatever, the one that I was talking about, Abernathy. You know, First base, Stripling hasn't been playing a lot of first base, right? He goes to field the ball that he probably should have let to the second baseman, who I don't even remember who was playing second. It was either Bozer or Lawson. I don't know, right? But hey, Stripling just ain't playing first base a lot, So yeah, he's gonna
hmm
try and get one. More experienced first baseman would let it go, would know that his second baseman's right there. Well, that run later on ends up scoring, right?
Yep.
And these are all plays that aren't put in there as errors, but they're not being made. And so if that's happening, because your depth ain't what it was before, you better make sure you pack your bats on a road trip, man, because you better hit the darn ball, dude. And that didn't happen. Now, Tennessee's got good pitching, but damn, I just felt like our hitters, you know, just didn't feel too comfortable at the plate up there, man. Did you think that they looked a little intimidated by the environment and the pitching staff that they were going up against?
Can't speak on Saturday, Sunday, but I thought Friday though they didn't look intimidated because they really worked pitch counts, but they just weren't producing runs. They
Yeah.
just weren't producing runs when mattered, and that's what cost Florida the series. They they had chances. They were up 4-1 on Sunday.
So swept by Tennessee. Sully brings up the fact, and I think we brought it up on this show last year when Missouri swept us, right? But Sully brought up the fact that in 2017, our first road trip to Auburn, we got swept. Okay. We ended up winning the national championship that year. So definitely it's not the end of the world, okay, to get swept by Tennessee. But there's things that need to get done, things that he's gotta address moving forward. And we'll see this weekend against Georgia, man. So
hmm
with that, bro, let's get into it, man. Let's get into Georgia week.
Let's
The
get in Georgia,
Bulldogs.
the number 4 team in the country. They're 21. They're 21-2 this year. coming off of a 2 out of 3 versus Kentucky, and that was almost like a slugfest. They ended up winning on Sunday, 17-10. Um, we can get into some pitching. They're a little more like Tennessee last year. Charlie Goldstein's going to be there Friday. He's going to throw an inning. Doesn't matter how much. He'll throw one inning, and then they'll go. They've been going to Zach Brown, transfer. So they got a bunch of transfers on their pitching staff. They got Brown as a transfer, Zach Harris also a transfer. They have Alton Davis. If you, I will get into him in a little bit, but if you know the name, he was the lefty for Alabama when BT Riotfeld hit the walk-off grand slam.
Oh,
I think it was in the 10th inning.
BT.
BT.
BT, baby, BT, right there.
They decided to change their lineup. Oh, that's a nice signature right there. Nice
BT.
BT. That is a nice signature. I need to get one of those. BT, send me one of those.
I got it in Omaha.
Yeah,
He signed it for me at Omaha last year.
nice,
At BT, baby. But yeah, man,
nice.
a lot of transfers, huh? Go ahead.
A lot of transfers and a lot of shakeups in their pitching rotation. Last year, you saw Colton Smith dominate the Gators for 8 innings on that Thursday night matchup, going 8 innings, 12 Ks. Well, this year they shook him up and put him in the bullpen. He's a bullpen arm now. Still velo same 95, 96, get him 97, and he also has a really disgusting breaking ball and changeup. But their starters will be Goldstein on Friday, then they'll go to Brown, and then they'll go to Colton Smith, and then Saturday they switched it up. 2 weeks ago they went Leighton Finley on Saturday. Now they're gonna go to his transfer, Matthew Hoskins. Hoskins, or no, he's not a transfer. He's coming back from injury. He did some 90, 94, 96, sometimes can touch 97. Also has a really good changeup, breaking ball as well. And then they go to Leighton Finley on Sunday. Funny enough, Leighton Finley pitched on Saturday. He's pitched on Saturday this year. He's pitched on Sunday. He's pitched in the bullpen. They just don't know where really to put him. So it's really tough when you scout these teams. It's like, really, the past 3 weekends we've had a different Sunday. Like you don't, not a traditional Sunday starter. Like Finley's been used a lot everywhere. I mean, but he was their traditional Saturday guy last year. I want to say, if I remember
Hmm.
right, he was their
Yeah, I think
Saturday
so.
guy. And yeah, they also have Alton Davis. They also have JT Quinn, which is probably one of their best relief arms out of the pen right now. I want to say, yeah, he's a 2.25 ERA. He's made 7 appearances. Only thrown, he's thrown 8 innings, he's made 4 starts, 5 appearances, 8 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs from him. But when you look at their ERAs, Charlie Goldstein has pitched 5 starts, 7 innings, 7 ERA. Leighton Finley's thrown 6 games, 4 starts, 7.71 ERA, 16 innings, 17 earned runs, 20 strikeouts, 11 walks. And then also you have Matthew Hoskins, which is at 3.65 ERA, 6 appearances, making 2 starts, but he started the last 2 weekends for them. 12 innings, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 17 Ks, and 8 walks. I mean, when you look at this lineup, they're scoring 10 runs a game. They're giving up 5 runs as a bullpen or as a pitching staff. They're at 4.95 ERA. Their opponents are 10.48 ERA. So if you see they're slugging it out, they're winning these games, they're scoring 10 runs a game, but the pitching staff's not doing them a favor. They're making them slug the games out. So when you really
Hmm.
look at a team like Florida that struggled to hit the ball against Tennessee, against really good pitching, I think Florida this weekend can be able to get the bats going. That against this pitching staff, maybe we could see a chip in the tide, and Florida can be able to finally get their bats fully going in SEC play second weekend against
So
Georgia.
for an SEC team, right, this is a team where Florida needs to get healthy on as far as the bats go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
I mean,
hopefully that
when you look
happens.
at that, there's all of their top guys like Colton Smith, 5.56 ERA, 11 innings, 7 earned runs, 13 hits. Zach Brown, another top arm for them, 14 innings, 15 hits, 10 earned runs, 5 walks, 14 strikeouts. You're looking
And
at
and
and these are the top arms that are coming out of the pen right away, and there's their starters also.
And this is against non-conference, basically. I mean, we've only played
Mostly
one
one
SEC
weekend.
weekend, so they
Exactly.
have only 3 games in the books against an SEC team this past weekend. So this is all against the non-cons, which, it's not like they've been playing, the best teams in the ACC or anything like that. This is non-conference baseball, and they're getting whacked around the field. So we need to bring those bats, man. So those bats that were left at the tarmac at Gainesville Airport, we got to put them back in the bus. Put them back in the bus and bring them to the con for
And
this
we'll drive
weekend, Chris.
10 minutes down the road to the con.
And they're gonna need to, Chris, because Georgia mashes, man. They mash, they mash. They get into these big scoring games like we talked about. So let's just
All
talk
right,
about their offense real quick, Chris. I'll just
let's hear
highlight
how good
four
they are.
guys. Yeah, man. First off, they're hitting 317 as a team, and they got 57 home runs. So they hit the long ball. They're hitting over 300. I'm gonna highlight first of all, right off the bat, 2 transfers. They did not. They not only hit the transfer portal big time in the pitching staff, but they also hit it for the position players. Man, their guy who's just killing it is a grad transfer from Miami of Ohio, Rylan Saborowski.
Hmm.
Saborowski. Okay. He's hitting DH for him, right-handed hitter, hitting 444. He leads them in both home runs with 12, RBIs with 40. He's slugging over 1,000 at 1.079 slugging. So power hitter, dude. And they have him hitting mainly in the bottom of the order, like in the
Mm.
7, 8, 9. Okay. He's hit 9 a handful of times. Um, so Rylan Saborowski just having a monster season for him. Another transfer from UNC Asheville, Robbie Burnett, second baseman, grad transfer. He hits second in the lineup for him. Right-handed hitter also hitting 414, Chris, with 11 homers. So he's second on the team in home runs with 11 and RBIs with 36. Those are 2 transfers that they got. Remember, their best player is supposed to be Trey Phelps. He's the one
Yep.
who's on all these draft boards. Okay, he was a freshman last year, freshman All-American. Um, Sophomore this year, obviously, Trey Phelps. He's the guy, Chris, who plays with the button shirt all the way down, like halfway, like Tony Montana. You know? Remember Tony
Hmm.
Montana and Scarface?
Yep.
That's Trey Phelps, man. He's like Tony Montana, bro. Scarface. Don't you have a Scarface poster up there? Everyone has a Scarface poster. But anyways,
How's he
that's
hitting?
that's Trey Phelps, man. He's a sophomore, like I said, right-handed hitter. I think he's getting pitched around. I don't know this for a fact, but I imagine he came into the season with all this hype, and I think that they're pitching around him, dude. But he's still hitting 318. He's got only 5 home runs, 23 RBIs. Um, I think he's getting pitched around a little bit. Some of these other guys are getting a lot of balls to hit. They're taking advantage of it. I think that
Hmm.
might be one of the strategies, right? Um, and he's hitting third in the lineup, third cleanup in that realm. Uh, Another big bat for him, the last guy that we'll talk about is Slate Alford. He was there last
Ooh.
year also. Uh, Slate Alford. He was a Mississippi State transfer last year. Okay, so last year he transferred him from Mississippi State. He's hitting leadoff for him. So it's kind of weird because he's kind of like, not your typical leadoff hitter, really, but he's hitting he has 6 home runs and 30 RBIs, and he's hitting about 305. So that's Slade out for playing third base for him. They always come in with a pretty good hitting team. Georgia normally has some good pitching too, man. Like they normally have a couple good arms, so I'm kind of surprised with their arms this year. But they're gonna hit the ball, man, and it's pretty much predicated on a couple of these transfers. They also got another transfer from Kentucky. One of Kentucky's outfielders also transferred to Georgia. He was on their team last year. I think it's McCartney, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. nice little ball player. He's got some decent numbers, but nothing crazy. But those two guys, Seborowski and Burnett, keep an eye on those two guys. I'm very
You know how
curious to
many
see them play.
you know how many times Burnett's been hit this year?
How many? Robbie Burnett,
16 times he's been hit.
16? Jeez, that's crazy.
Trey Phelps been hit 11 times. 27 from those two. They've been walked a combined, what is it, 34 times.
So what's their OPS?
20, 22. Let's look.
What is Burnett's OPS? It's got to be through the roof. 1.3 something probably. 1.3, 1.4.
It doesn't have OPS on here, but he's slugging 986 on here.
Yeah.
But he's been walked 22 times already this year. He has an on base percentage at 620.
I mean, I know that Cop and Sully, when they sit down with their pitchers to go over their, and we always like to talk about that, right? Who who do we can't let hurt us? I'm sure everybody's always had Trey Phelps up there up until this point of the season. But this is a part of the season where these numbers are starting to stand out, right? And those Seborowski and Burnett numbers, man, kind of can't let those guys beat you, right? But better be careful with Trey Phelps, man. He's a good hitter, dude, Trey Phelps. So they got a good lineup, man. Midweek games, real quick. Just go over real fast what the Gators got midweek. Tuesday,
We got JU Tuesday, another matchup. We already played them once this year. We beat them 10-4. We have a rainout game again from the FAMU that was supposed to happen 2 weeks ago, and now we're playing them this week. They are nine
make
and ten on the or 9-10 on the year. I really think Florida needs to hone in, lock in on those two games. Gotta win those two. Gotta win those two to get into the weekend and not take a loss to either JU or FAMU and
well,
be able to.
you're seeing that you're gonna take some losses in the weekends. Okay?
Right.
Let's just call it the way it is. You're gonna take some losses. The rule of thumb is always 2 out of 3 at home. Don't get swept on the road. So we're -1 there already to
Yep.
start the SEC season. So if you're looking at it that way, we're already -1. So
Hmm.
at least to make up for that, we got to sweep Georgia right off the bat to just make up for that going into the third week of the SEC.
You got a
But
5-0 week coming.
but you're seeing how, especially with our situation in the bullpen, I can't stress that enough, man. We're gonna take some L's in the weekends. SEC is just too tough. If your
Hmm.
bullpen situation is not being worked out, it would help a lot if Pierce Capola could come back. I just have no idea what a timeline would be on that, even if he ever does come back this year. So I just don't know. Um, so these midweek games, they're gonna matter. They're gonna
Yep.
matter in the win-loss, dude. They're gonna matter. So you gotta take care of business in these midweeks. I assume like what you talked about, Jenkins will get to start Tuesday and Wednesday, you gotta put runs up against FAMU. You just gotta put runs up where it doesn't matter who goes out there.
Could
You'll have
see
a lot
Christian
of guys.
Rodriguez.
No, well, you have to look. Tuesday and Wednesday, I Sully has to use it to try and identify a couple more arms that he could use on the weekend. Okay? So Tuesday and Wednesday, Nico Jansen's, C-Rod, Chris Rodriguez, you gotta get McDonald back in there to get that bitter taste out of that 3-run homer to get walked off on Saturday out of his mouth. Okay, you gotta get him in there. So you gotta find some more arms. You gotta try and develop some more of these arms that you have a little bit of confidence in to be that bridge to get you to Philpott. Okay, you need to find those, man. Or else it's gonna be tough to win these weekend series, man. But so yeah, so you gotta go 2-0 midweeks. So with that being said, we're both going 2-0 midweek.
2-0 midweek.
All right, go for it, man. What's your weekend predictions against
This
Georgia?
this week I'm gonna go 4-1. We're gonna go 4-1 this week. I think we this the Sunday matchup. I think is so question marked right now. both
Yeah.
teams, honestly, but I just don't know what our arms are going to look like Friday, Saturday, going into Sunday. Georgia can mash. I'm not even saying that, but and with our question marks and everything too, I think we win Friday, Saturday. I think those are going to be pretty good outings from us, and then I think we lose Sunday if it
Yeah.
can't go
I
sweep.
mean,
I just don't know if we can. I can't go sweep right now.
if we had a full complement of arms, right? I'm picking a sweep here with no problem.
Easy.
But there's just too much uncertainty right now with the second tier level of the bullpen and with Jake on Sunday. There's just too much of an uncertainty there. And
Mhm.
I'll go 2 out of 3 on the weekend also. So a 4-1 week. 2 out of 3 from Georgia. They're a top 10 team. So 2 out of 3 from them should put the Gators back in
Put
the
us
top
back.
10. Yeah,
I think it
so
would put
that
us at
should put us
10.
back.
I think we'd move to 10. I'd
Yeah.
say.
Um, so hopefully they could get that done. I'm just looking here. The softball team is up 3-1 going into the sixth inning against Texas.
Did
They're
we win
no,
yesterday?
we lost both games. Well, yesterday
Okay.
it was rained out. It was
Yeah.
not rained out. It was always a Saturday, Sunday, Monday series. But Sunday's game, because of the rain here, they played the doubleheader on Saturday. Gators lost
Mm.
that doubleheader to Texas. Texas just mashes, man. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So now we're trying to prevent the sweep. I did not have both baseball and softball on my bingo card getting swept this past weekend. So hopefully they could get these last 2 innings and win this game against Texas, man. But
Well, we were. And the funny thing was, is we were up. I think we were up 7-5, and then they scored like 9 runs in the fifth, or like 7 runs in the fifth inning or so, like sixth inning,
it
and
was
then we
kind of
just
like
lost. Like
this.
I know I was watching it, and then it was like 7-5. I was like, okay, I had to go do something, and I came back. It was 12-7 Texas. I was like, what just happened?
It was kind of like the seventh inning against Tennessee, man. Just freaking snowballs, man. Like you wanted to call a timeout or something, timeout, but you
Mhm.
can't, no timeouts in baseball. Well, there's a little
Right,
bit of a timeout, but gotta get back in
right.
there, man, especially now.
All
But
right,
with
let's
that,
wrap this
man,
up.
we've gone
Wrap it
late, man.
up.
Let's wrap it up. Go for it.
Yeah, hey, thanks everybody for subscribing on YouTube. Thank you for dropping your likes. Drop us a 5 star on Spotify. Leave us a comment. If you guys want to know anything on the pod, just let us know. You can hit us up in the DMs. You can hit us up in the comments. Thank you guys for always supporting us. 4-1, maybe 5-0 week this week. It'd be nice to get a little sweep on Georgia.
And a Sweet 16 berth the next time we talk also for the basketball
Sweet
team.
16.
Going to the Sweet
Exactly.
16, baby. Let's make that happen. Go
Let's make it,
Gators.
let's make it happen. Go Gators.